It gives me great pleasure to introduce our guest speaker, Mr. Joe Long from the Confederate Black Room and War Museum in Columbia, South Carolina.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And folks, thank you again for investing part of your Friday evening here. My name is Joe Long, and I do get to do military history for a living. And I consider that a privilege and a responsibility. This is a republic. We make military decisions, you and I do. We make military decisions when we vote. We make military decisions when we raise young people with the attitudes they're going to have about service and about conflict. So it behooves us to learn. It behooves us to learn from history. And I guess really a central theme of my career at this point, history is about people. It's about understanding your neighbor. The best way to understand people is to pay attention to how they've been acting for the last several thousand years. Military history is about understanding your neighbor under stress. It's about leadership. It's about decision making. More often than not, military history is about people making the hardest decisions in their lives on a tight deadline with terrible consequences at stake while they are frightened, angry, tired, hungry, and probably sick. Military history is about stress. Which leads me to my pitch to all of you today. I would like to tell you why in the 1770s you should be considering signing on with my privateering vessel. Now, I'm going to figure that this is an entire room full of patriots. We've got a patriotic banner. It's clear General Washington is honored outside. So, you want to serve the new nation, and we will have a new nation. But, do you have friends who have served in the colonial army? Have you heard from them lately? You have to be a brave man to serve in the colonial army. You must be a very brave man to be a continental soldier. And more than that, you must be able to endure hardship. You must exist on short rations. You must go without medicine, without proper uniforms, without respect, and sometimes, don't tell anybody this, without the very best leadership. The lot of the continental soldier is a very difficult one. And if Charleston falls, South Carolina is not going to be a place where big battles are likely to be won against the greatest military machine in the world. In fact, if South Carolina were to fall to the British, particularly Charleston, the British could gang up on George Washington and the Continental Army up north. If that happens, by the way, I hope and expect that all of you backcountry people who learned your trade fighting against the Cherokee will put those skills to use. Because you know what? Even if Charleston has fallen and no major continental army is in the field in the south, the British can't gang up on George Washington if small bands of men continue to harass them. And you know how to do that. The Indians have done that to you. If small bands of men out in the woods continue to harass the British, even if Charleston falls, as long as George Washington can hold together the Continental Army in the field, eventually the British are going to get sick of the whole thing and go home. So if you're with the Continental Army, that means hardship, danger, low pay, brutal punishments, winters at the Valley Forge. If you are a guerrilla fighting in the backcountry of South Carolina, that means the long rifle you used to put squirrel and venison on the table now becomes a menace to the British officer. rifleman, as a man with backcountry skills, you can do a lot to frustrate and harass the British. Unfortunately, you will also live the life of a hunted animal. You will sleep beside logs when you sleep. You will be in fear that your family back home may suffer, that your buildings may be burned, that people you care about may be harmed. But if you are willing to continue to poke and poke and poke at the British Army, one thing will happen. Folks, we're fighting against a nation with parliament. King George may never change his mind. But if a Tory gets up in Parliament and says, well, we've won the American Revolution in the South already, there only remains defeating George Washington, then a Whig from the opposition party will get up in Parliament. And if that man says, oh, is that so? Because my brother-in-law was killed in South Carolina just last week. I don't think we've won there. If we've got that going on, the British people, we've got one of the British political parties, the Whigs, are already on our side. They're saying what they asked for is reasonable. They're on our side. I predict that with superior American grit, we will triumph. Hardship, misery, danger. You all will have to tell me what it was like when I get back. I'm going to the Caribbean. Would anybody else like to sail the Caribbean instead? I'm not going to a winter at Valley Forge. You see, I have signed on with Captain Hezekiah and Anthony out of Charleston. The British have the mightiest army in the world, and we've been struggling to build one that can fight on the battlefield against the British Army. But they have the mightiest navy in the world by a factor of 10. A British line of battle ship is an amazing fighting machine. There can be more than 1,000 sailors and Marines on board. Dozens of guns. It takes years and years in the most advanced shipyards to build them, and they don't call them battleships. They call them line of battleships because you never meet just one. Their strategy is to build an immense fleet. Only another major naval power like the Dutch or the French, who have been building their own fleets for years, can hope to challenge them. If we put all of the resources of American shipbuilding into building one line of battleship, first of all, they'll capture wherever it's being built and destroy it before we man it. But if we somehow manage to build it, we'd have to use more than every sailor in the Continental Navy to man it, and then it would be outnumbered. Building a navy which can stand up ship for ship to the big line of battleships of the British Navy, the Royal Navy, is not something we can do. When you're in a fight, you have to learn to use your advantages. So let's look at what we have been doing, because we haven't been building line of battle ships, but this is a nation connected to the rest of the world by the sea. We have many very skilled sailors. We've been carrying American goods all over the world. We've been picking things up elsewhere in the world and bringing them back that Americans need. And let me tell you all a little secret. We haven't been paying taxes on most of it. Do you know why? The tax man's in the harbor. So as I've been sailing over the years, I have noticed that we build ships that have a shallow draft. That means they can pull up on a beach someplace, maybe not too close to the main harbor, can sail in shallow water, that are fast ships. We have captains and crews who are used to sneaking about in order to bring whatever it is we're not paying taxes on to some darkened harbor in the middle of the night. We've been smuggling, folks. American sailors have been smuggling for decades. So now we have small, fast ships skilled sailors, a great knowledge of the little hiding places of the coast. And in a very wise decision, the Continental Congress has decided to offer letters of marque and reprisal. Have you ever heard of that? A letter of marque and reprisal is a license. It's a license to capture ships and take their stuff. Folks, I'm going to take off my 18th century hat for a minute and tell you the silliest thing that I've seen out of Disney, which is saying a lot. But they had a show about, an animated show about pirates, and so they had little character things, character qualities. And one of them said, a good pirate never takes what doesn't belong to him. Okay. The very definition, of course, of a pirate is a robber who happens to practice his trade by sea. Pirates steal stuff. I don't steal things, I capture things. The difference between a pirate and a privateer is very important, even though if you're a privateer, the other side will always call you pirate. And the difference will be described, and again, I'm hopping a little bit forward in history, because a lot of people said, okay, can we really give people a license? Is this what the new nation really wants to do, is license pirates? Because guess what? My letter of marque and reprisal means that my captain, Captain Hezekiah Anthony, can take the ship out and try to capture British ships and keep their stuff. That sounds a whole lot like being a pirate. Oops. Wrong quote. What is war? Says this statesman. A contest between nations of trying which can do the other the most harm. How is a battle gained? What produces peace? The distress of individuals. What difference does it make to the sufferer that his property is taken by a national or a private armed vessel? Did our merchants, who have lost 917 vessels to British capture, feel any gratification that most of them were taken by His Majesty's men of war? Were the spoils less rigidly exacted by a 74-gun ship than a privateer? One of the London journals wrote, America cannot pretend to wage a maritime war with us, a Navy war. The London newspaper said there's no way. She has no Navy to do it with. But America has nearly 100,000 as good seamen as any in the world, all of whom would be actively employed against our trade in every part of the ocean, in their fast-sailing ships of war. The statesman that I mentioned talked about the difference between the man who is paid by his government and the man who undertakes to pay himself at the expense of the foe. Who was this crazy radical suggesting the licensing of piracy by Americans? None other than our own Thomas Jefferson. He understood that what we could do, what we were doing on land, with the guys with the rifles driving the British crazy, could be done at sea all around the entire world. Not chasing after the Royal Navy and trying to line up ship to ship. Don't get me wrong, some very brave American captains in the very small Continental Navy did that. John Paul Jones certainly did. American frigates, which were the middle-sized warship, were as good as British frigates and would try to pick a British frigate all by itself and prove that they were just as good in a one-on-one battle. But American privateers could strike off the coast of Madagascar. They could capture British ships bringing treasure back from India. They could go to the Caribbean. They could be right off the coast of the continental United States, or they could, one American privateer captured an island off of Scotland and held it for about 2 weeks before pulling up stakes and going home again. What does this do? Well, the privateers are going to do a lot to help the new nation. Now, let me give you some advice if you decide to sign on to the George Washington. You will make a lot more money with the privateers than you would in the Continental Navy, because a lot of your pay is going to come from what we capture. Now, the truth is that the state government, which gives us the letter of marque, is going to take 40% of what we capture. But we need their help. We need their help to be legal. We need their help in the Admiralty Court to help us win. There will be a court case. Every time we bring a ship in, there will be a court case about it. We have a lawyer on staff. Not only do we have a lawyer on staff, we have shareholders. The General Washington is a corporation, as well as a sloop. And at home, people can invest in shares in the privateer. And if we make a profit, our shareholders will make a profit. Prospective sailors, do not sell your share. Just take my advice on that. Too many sailors, a couple of nights before they leave port, they decide that, well, I might not make a big profit off this voyage, and this guy right here is offering to buy my share. We will honor that. If you sold or gave away your share and the person shows up with a certificate at the end of the voyage, you won't get your share of the profit, and they will. Be aware of this, particularly young sailors. Don't fall for that particular trick. 38 letters of marque have been issued out of Charleston alone. Dozens from Baltimore, from Philadelphia, from the New England states. Our first successful privateer from Charleston, a ship called the Vixen, in short order captured a British ship full of barrel staves and another one full of rum. She picked off a straggler from a convoy filled with sugar, rum, and wine, and another ship full of sugar which they didn't put enough sailors on, and so the British recaptured their ship and took it away. When we leave port, we're going to stuff our ship with as many men as we possibly can. Not in order to fight, but in order to, every time we capture a ship, we have to put 6 or 8 of our guys aboard the ship we captured to take it back to port. So we bring a lot of extra men at the beginning of the voyage. And why am I recruiting this far inland when probably nobody in here knows a hitch from a splice? Because the Continental Navy is angry that we're taking all the good sailors in the privateers because we pay so much more money and have better working conditions. So the Continental Congress has passed a law that at least half of the crewmen of my privateer have to be lubbers, people who have never been on a ship before. They have to be brand new sailors because they want experienced sailors left over for the American Continental Navy, and I pity the poor guys who are doing that. Some of the privateers operating from Charleston, the Polly, the Fair American, the General Moultrie. And one of the things that these ships are doing, besides driving the British crazy, is building a new American spirit of, if we can beat the British Navy, we can do anything. The Royal Navy is the greatest Navy in the world, and everyone knows it. And yet, I'm sorry, I'm going to need your help with this, and it's certainly going to be an employment test for whether you need to be on my crew. I need you to join me in a tribute to Captain Whipple. So sing after me, please. Oh, we sailed and we sailed.
Oh, we sailed and we sailed.
And we made good cheer.
We made good cheer.
Okay, that's your part. You'll join me every once in a while in, and we sailed and we sailed and we made good cheer. Can you do this? She says you can do that. One more time, let's try. And we sailed and we sailed and we made good cheer. All right. This is the tale. It is told musically in taverns all up and down the coast, and almost every word of it is true. Come listen and I'll tell you how first I went to sea, to fight against the British and to earn our liberty. We shipped with Captain Whipple, who never knew a fear, the captain of the Providence, the Yankee privateer, and we sailed and we sailed and we made good cheer. There were many very pretty men aboard our privateer. We're thinking of dropping that verse. The British Lord High Admiral, he wished old Whipple harm. He wrote that he would hang him at the end of his yard arm. My lord, wrote Captain Whipple back, it seems to me it's clear that if you want to hang him, you must catch your privateer. And we sailed and we sailed, and we made good cheer. Not a British frigate could come near the privateer. Captain Whipple fell in line with a British convoy. Now, we're already affecting their economy and their planning and their logistics if they have to sail in convoy. That costs them money. But they have to sail in groups now, not to be preyed upon by the American privateers. And yet it doesn't work. We sailed to the southward and nothing did we meet till we found 3 British frigates and the whole West Indian fleet. Old Whipple shut our ports as he crawled up near, and he sent us all below on the Yankee privateer. So slowly he sailed. We dropped to their rear, and not a soul suspected the Yankee privateer. At night we put the lights out, and forward we ran, and silently boarded the biggest merchantman. We knocked down the watch, and the lovers shook for fear. She's a prize without a shot to the Yankee privateer. Whipple joined the convoy. For 10 nights in a row, they were missing a ship every morning. Ships that were headed back to Boston. The celebratory last verse said, northward we sail to the town we all know, and there lay our prizes anchored in a row. And welcome were we to our friends so dear. We shared $1 million on the bold privateer. Well, Captain Whipple's 1779 voyage literally did net $1 million. And that was real money back then. A 14-year-old boy on the ship. It was his first voyage. He was fulfilling that lover rule where they got some kids straight off the farm. So he was the most junior crewman with the smallest share. He received 20 pounds of cotton, 20 of logwood, ginger, and allspice, a ton of sugar, 30 to 40 gallons of fourth-proof Jamaica rum, and $700. This in a time when a working man is likely to make $7 or $8 a month. So I hope he did well. I don't know what happened after that. But that 14-year-old kid had a pretty nice start in life after a single privateering voyage. Now, obviously, they're not all that good. Not all the privateering voyages are that epic and successful. Yet, remember the Whig and the Tory in Parliament who are arguing about the American Revolution? And the Tory is still wanting to support the loyalists in America, wanting to maintain the empire, wanting to not let America go and turn into some horrifying kind of republic. And yet that Tory's friends keep bothering him. Because this is the most boring war strategy in the whole world in a way. It doesn't sound like exciting piracy. We're driving their insurance rates through the roof. They can't make money with their shipping anymore because Lloyd's of London, the insurance company that still operates today, has raised the insurance rates on all the shipping because American privateers are striking all over the world. Their profits are disappearing. And so the Tories' rich donors to his election campaign, they're beginning to twist his arm and they're beginning to say, is it really important to keep fighting the Americans? And they're saying, why is the Royal Navy bottled up off Boston Harbor and not protecting my ships in the Indian Ocean? And so they're also pushing to use a less effective military strategy. And that mighty Royal Navy is just as frustrated as the mighty British Army on land, because these little, fast, elusive craft are disappearing as quickly as they come, but they're wreaking havoc all over the place. Privateers hurt very few people. Almost all their damage is economic. One of the things that happens, the British have commissioned privateers too. And a bunch of Canadian fishermen, especially from Nova Scotia, think it's wonderful to take a break from fishing and do something more adventurous. And so American and British privateers sometimes face off against each other. It gets really confusing. I consider myself a gentleman, even though the English wouldn't. I have pretensions in that direction, and I will fight as an honorable seaman. But let me explain what that definition means. I will always raise my own Continental Navy flag before I open fire. This is the tradition followed by all the captains, including ones in the Royal Navy, including the Royal Navy. They have aboard their ship French and Spanish and British and American and Italian and every flag they can find. They've got a copy of aboard their ship. And they fly whatever one they feel like until the moment they open fire. It's considered totally fair to pretend to be somebody else except when you're actually shooting. This results in an American privateer flying British colors and a British privateer flying American colors, chasing each other around for about 3 days, trying to figure out who was who before they finally started shooting at one another. Now, this strategy is going to have some upsides and some downsides. The downside, with the upside, we can project our power all over the world. American sailors become legendary and inspiring to the people back home. We're using our strong points against the British weak points at sea. And it's very good for our economy, it's very bad for theirs. Some of the downsides. At one point, a British ship is captured with a lot of cannon on board, and thankfully, it's a Continental Navy ship that captures them, because the captured cannons then become property of the Continental Congress, and they're given to George Washington just in time for him to win a major battle. If I captured that ship, those cannons are mine. My business uses cannons. That's more capital for me. They're not going to go through the Continental Congress. The Continental Congress can't order me as a privateer where to go and what to do. If there's a boring naval mission that doesn't have any profit in it, they need to send the Navy to do that. The privateers won't do it for them. Privateers are completely self-directed, and they're completely chasing the buck. Now, there are exceptions. There are American privateers who see themselves as warriors. Some of them are former naval officers, and they are looking for a fight. But my shareholders will not be happy with me if I look for a fight. Even if I win, the damage, the medical bills, the different costs that accrue to my business from a fight are not what they want. They want me to be able to protect myself and to not like the business pirates. They want me to take other people's stuff. That's what they've sent me out there for. Traditionally, a big problem with privateers is after the war, privateers tend to really like what they used to do and keep doing it without a license and become pirates. For some reason, that's not a big problem after the American Revolution. And probably a big part of that is most of our guys have already been sailors, and they would like to go back to their old job as soon as the fighting is over. Now, some of the landsmen, they've just got hopefully a nice boost to start their career with. There are not a lot of American Revolution privateers who end up being part of an age of piracy afterwards. That's a downside usually, but not this time. But when you're planning ahead, you have to think that way. It's notoriously hard to stop privateering once you start. Another downside, though, we make it really hard for the Navy to recruit sailors. Because we don't flog our guys, we treat them with respect, and they get big bonuses. And the Continental Navy is still very harsh and very low paid. So, for instance, Captain John Paul Jones' famous ship, the Von Richard, that wins a great battle against the British. The officers on that ship are American officers. Almost all of the enlisted sailors are random sailors picked up in European ports. They are not American patriots in particular. Maybe they are once they've served with John Paul Jones, but he couldn't recruit enough in America. In America, they're all going into privateers. Now, to shoot forward in time a little bit, the French Revolution happens a little while after our own, and Charleston is very pro-French. Charleston and much of America, especially Thomas Jefferson and his admirers, are very pro-French Revolution, especially in the beginning. And so the French send a diplomat to the United States, and everyone's waiting in Washington, D.C. for Citizen Genet to arrive in Baltimore and travel to Washington and talk to the Continental Congress, or by that time, the United States Congress. But Citizen Genet comes to Charleston instead, unexpectedly, and he comes to town with a stack of letters of marque and reprisal signed by the French Revolutionary Government. And he's giving them out like candy. So, in the 1790s, Charleston again becomes a privateering center. This time, vessels under a French flag, but mostly they're not Frenchmen, operating once more. In 1812, Charleston becomes an American privateering center once more against the Royal Navy. This time, we've had trouble building a fleet for a totally different reason. Now we have the shipyards, we have the industry. The whole shipbuilding industry is in the hands of the Quakers. And the Quakers are pacifists. And when the Navy tells them they want warships, the Quakers say, we won't build warships. They have to find a rogue shipbuilder who will break with the rest of the guild to begin building them warships. And we use the privateering strategy again. And then all European nations got together a little while after that and said, you know what, this privateering thing is driving us all crazy. We've got to stop the privateering. It hurts everybody's economy every time we have a war. Will everyone sign this treaty and say we won't do privateering anymore? And the British say, yes, we will sign that. And the French say, oui, oui, monsieur. And the Germans say, ja. And the Russians say, da. And everybody signs the anti-privateering treaty. And then they get to the United States delegate. And the United States delegate says, no, we're not signing that. If you pick a fight with us, we reserve the right to use privateers. We will do what we have always done effectively because it's a good strategy, and no, we won't sign it. So just don't pick a fight with us. And then the North fights the South. The South tries to use a few privateers. It doesn't work out very well. Privateering kind of fades. Everybody forgets about it. World War I, there are commerce raiders, but they're members of the Navy. They're not privateers. World War II. The Goodyear Blimp Company is training pilots for the U.S. Navy. And the Goodyear wants to do a good deed and also get some positive corporate publicity. So Goodyear says to the Navy, we would like to send one of our blimps out over the Atlantic to look for enemy submarines. And the Navy says, sorry, no, you can't do that. Because Geneva Convention, you're non-combatants, you're not allowed to do that without joining the Navy. And Goodyear says, well, let's talk to our corporate lawyers. Maybe there's a way around that. 1942, the United States Congress issued its last, so far, letter of marque and reprisal to the Goodyear Corporation. The last American privateer was a blimp in World War II. They were armed only with a lever-action rifle that they had aboard, and their job was spotting U-boats. But technically, they became legal combatants under the Geneva Convention by being given a letter of marque and reprisal. Okay, folks, I hope that this opened up to you a view of a different part of the American Revolution. It was an important part. And if you would like to look into this, particularly young people, first of all, this book, if you can find it, it's probably out of print, Pirates and Patriots of the American Revolution, is illustrated with a lot of very specific drawings of how things are done. It gives you a good overview. That's an excellent one. And I really suggest a book that stays in print and can also be found for free on the internet. The book is called Hero Tales of American History. Sometimes they have different titles than that. It's always a variation. It always has the word hero in it. Sometimes it's American Hero Tales. It's easiest to recognize because of its author, Theodore Roosevelt. Theodore Roosevelt and Henry Cabot Lodge, working together, wrote a book of stories for young people, and they were meant to be short, digestible hero tales from American history. And each man chose the stories they liked best, and Theodore Roosevelt really liked naval adventure stories. So the fight of the General Armstrong Privateer is one of his chapters. But another of his chapters is the Battle of Kings Mountain in South Carolina. And there are many others running up through history. So please remember that. Thank you all. Does anybody have any questions tonight?
What did you do with the ships when you captured?
A captured ship, you put a prize crew aboard the captured ship and send it to a friendly port. And that pretty much meant, unless you were near France, France would be considered a friendly port. They would happily take an American prize ship in and give you money for it through one of their ports. But it pretty much meant getting it back to one of the ports along our coast. And this did get complicated. In the case of that one ship that was captured and its crew held on board prisoner recaptured the ship. And then the guys who had captured it recaptured it again from the British port it was taken to and then sailed it out. So that did get complicated. Privateers normally treated prisoners, including each other, quite well. And the British threatened to hang American privateers as pirates, but there were British privateers too. And they knew if they started hanging American privateers, Americans would hang British privateers. And so they held privateers captive, basically saying, well, if the Americans lose the war, then we'll hang all the privateers. But since the Americans won, the captured privateers were sent home. But that was if the Royal Navy got them. If British privateers captured you, they usually just put you in the longboat near your own coast and let you go home because they wanted the same courtesy from you if they happened to be the ones who got captured next. Yes?
Did you fight in World War II or World War I?
What's that?
Did you ever fight in World War II?
Me? No, I was too old for World War I. I wanted to, but I was already 90. No. No, I didn't. Actually, in real life, I missed the war that I signed up for. It was called the Persian Gulf War. And I was still at basic training when the war was suddenly over. And I was so young that I was disappointed. And now I have spent much of my life studying military history, and I'm very grateful to the men who went over and won that war so that my infantry unit did not have to go over there. I was ready. But there was no call over. Yes?
Did the privateers themselves, did they suffer many casualties?
No. No. Casualties were fairly uncommon. The exceptions, a couple of big fights happened. Actually, in the War of 1812, there were some very desperate actions between privateers and the Royal Navy. And sometimes we picked on them first, which is wild. But in general, they had all the normal hazards of a seafaring life, but not a lot of additional hazards. The privateers are going to suffer fewer casualties and in general have a more comfortable existence. Of course, you're constantly risking being made a prisoner of war. And if you've studied the American Revolution, to be a prisoner of war in the American Revolution, you know, is basically be locked up in a dungeon eating filth and be very lucky to survive. You'd probably be in one of the prison ships. You know, they would use an old hulk of a ship that couldn't do anything else to be a prison ship. But yeah, the privateers did not suffer high casualties. It was actually a pretty comfortable place to be. South Carolina, we've always got to be special. And so not only did South Carolina host privateers, at a certain point, our state decided we needed to have our own state navy. And our state navy included the brave Notre Dame, or Notre Dame, they probably pronounced it right, they probably had French for the word. But the Notre Dame took numerous prizes. And it was not just privateers who made money. in 18th century sea warfare. Because if an enemy ship was captured, there was something called prize money that was also awarded to officers and men in the Royal Navy. It was much less than privateers. But it was still, if it was an enemy warship, it was a big chunk of change. For instance, my wife loved the Jane Austen movie Persuasion. And at the beginning of that novel and film, this young couple, their relationship is broken up because one of the families doesn't approve or something like that. And then the man goes away, and then he comes back some years later, very rich. And he's a naval officer. And I told her one day, do you want to see how he got rich? Because this is the Horatio Hornblower series. And that's a seafaring adventure series set in the same era that shows these young Royal Navy officers and how anxious they were to make a big capture, because even a regular Navy officer could make a lot of money off a major prize capture. I think my favorite privateer I ran into, story in grad school, it was just a one-day thing that the teacher had us do in the methods and research class. She wanted us to read a man's will. And we're reading along in this unusual will. It's like, oh, he owned property on St. Simon's Island. Wait, he owned St. Simon's Island. Well, this gentleman was a French minor aristocrat who became a privateer. He captured one ship. It was the treasure ship of the year, bringing the tribute from India to the King of England. He immediately retired a very rich man, and he moved to the New World because he believed wisely. He was a minor aristocrat. He would have been killed in the French Revolution if he hung around. And he thought things were getting crazy in France and didn't want any part of it. And he literally bought St. Simon's Island with the profits from one ship that he captured. Now, of course, that's winning the lottery. He happened to hit the ship that was bringing the tribute from India. There wasn't a bigger prize to be had. Nevertheless, if you were in the right place at the right time, if you were not in the right place at the right time and you just capture a ship full of rum and spices, if it's valuable enough to ship by sea, it's valuable enough to give you a nice financial boost. And so capturing, as long as the ship was loaded with something. Yes?
Who funded the privateer's ship? You're going to become a privateer, you're going to have a ship, right? So
Yes.
Why is that?
Okay. Several ways this could happen. A ship which is already out there, and normally just carries cargoes, gets a letter of marque and begins to perform as a privateer. And this is how all those ships that are already designed for kind of smuggling, and they're designed for somewhat nefarious deeds in the first place, they make the transition quite easily. But some privateers started out as simply as literally having a longboat and waiting for a British ship to be anchored offshore, and then rowing out, capturing the new ship, and the new ship is now their privateering ship. And then you try to upgrade from that. So it could actually be that simple. But remember that the British had closed the American ports, so they're generating their own enemies by doing this, because they got all these sailors with nothing to do and resentment against the British. So their vessels are something that technically could be used too. What did not normally happen was that a ship was designed and built as a privateer from the keel up. That pretty much didn't happen. You pressed something else into service. But it was a very different engineering project then. And if you really want to read an interesting adult level book about that sailing era, the book Six Frigates by Ian Toll is about the period around 1800 where Thomas Jefferson decides we actually do need a navy. Folks, after the American Revolution, we completely got rid of our Continental Navy. We had zero navy after the Revolution was over. We had one, and now we didn't have one. And we thought apparently we were never going to have trouble that required a navy again. John Paul Jones had no job. He went to France to see if the French Navy could use him. And the French Navy said, no, but we hear Catherine the Great of Russia is hiring. Captain John Paul Jones of the American Navy became a Russian admiral fighting the Turks in the 1890s, or the 1790s, because there was no work for a naval officer back here at home. And the book Six Frigates talks about the political fight and then the manufacture of 6 frigates, which was the American Navy of the early 1800s, and how we fought the Barbary pirates and then eventually had a rematch with the British Navy. But it's a fascinating book. One of the things it points out was simply the kind of wood that was used was not easy to obtain. Getting raw materials was hard, getting skilled shipwrights was hard, and then getting the Quakers to quit obstructing from building a navy. And we had the Quakers, but we also had Thomas Jefferson and his whole party, who were really quite isolationist in a way. And they had to be convinced, finally, okay, we've got a choice. We can have a big standing army because we're going to have to defend ourselves because somebody else is going to come. Or we can have a little bitty army and a reasonable navy that can head off trouble before it gets to our shores. And finally, Thomas Jefferson was convinced, yes, we need a quality navy. But it wasn't easy. He was very reluctant. He didn't like to see the growth of military power. He was finally convinced, okay, but if we do it in the right way, it can prevent problems before they happen. Yes?
Besides the personal sidearms, did the ships have any heavy armaments?
That depended on the ship itself. Let's see, got a couple of them listed here. The General Moultrie had 12 short 12-pounders. 12-pounder gun is pretty big, but these didn't have much range to them. 6 4-pounders. Now that's the size of my fist. That's a cannonball the size of my fist, more or less. The Polly, which was a very successful ship, had 14 4-pounders aboard. Some of these privateers, one way to save money, but it relied on bluff. I've already referred to the Quakers. There was something called Quaker guns. Have you ever heard of a Quaker gun? A Quaker gun was a log painted black and carved to look like a cannon from a distance. And if you're a privateer, hopefully showing a bunch of guns is going to get the job done for you. And a Quaker gun is lighter to carry than a real one. If you got 2 real cannons and 6 Quaker guns, that was one of the strategies that was employed as well. You didn't actually want too many cannon, and this is among the bazillion things the movies get wrong. Movies make pirate ships like warships. Movies make, they line them with cannons on the decks. They did not have that many cannons. Cannons are heavy, cannons are crew intensive, cannons are expensive. You simply would not have that many unless you're a purpose-built warship. And pirates versus purpose-built warships, pirates lost. That's how it worked. There really wasn't much of a question there. Yes? Thank you for coming tonight, by the way.
Where did you beach your house in?
We have a seamstress in Columbia who makes cool historic stuff, and I promised her that I would always carry business cards in the pocket of this for when someone asked me where it came from, because she did a wonderful job on it. Now the baldric I inherited, and the sword itself, that was a presentation to me, and it made me very happy to receive it. A group wanted to give me a speaker's gift, and I said, what do you want? I said, I want to upgrade my privateer impression with the sword. So this is one of my favorites. Sometimes I hope somebody will take a fight with me on this. Not yet. Not yet. If there's any suspicious characters hanging out near my car, I'll be ready for it. Okay, well, thank you all very much. I hope
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Oh, and you can download the song The Yankee Privateer on iTunes so that you can sing along better next time.
Joe has brought with him some pamphlets